Hi, I'm Pam Doffek with Sustainable Tallahassee's Rags to Bags. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to make a handmade mask out of quilting cotton, flannel, or t-shirt material. Let's get started. First we'll cut out some 6-inch by 9-inch rectangles. You can use quilting cotton, you can use flannel, you can use old t-shirts. Just don't cut the part that has the writing on it. It's thicker and isn't as breathable. For each mask, you'll need 2 layers of fabric. We suggest a layer of quilting cotton with a layer of either t-shirt or flannel, not 2 layers of flannel or 2 layers of t-shirt fabric, because it makes it too hard to breathe through. So I've lined up my edge with a straight edge, and I'm just going to cut a 6-inch strip. I folded the fabric to make it easier to cut on my board. I've already cut some fabric squares to the right size. So once you have the 6-inch, we unfold it. I straighten my edge to get rid of the selvage. And then I go to the 9-inch line on my ruler, and because the width is already 6 inches, I can just cut straight across. I've already cut some flannel that's 6 by 9 and some t-shirt fabric that's 6 by 9. So now we can layer them together. So we'll put those 2 pieces right sides together and go to the sewing machine and start sewing. We've got our 2 layers together. I'm going to start at the outer edge and take about 3 stitches in. I have a stitch length of 2.5. And then I'm going to pivot and use the edge of my presser foot as my seam allowance, which is about 1/4 of an inch, no more than 1/2 inch. I'll stop here, pick up one of my 18-inch cut ties, and I wind it around so it makes a little package. I open the layers, I stick my coil there, and the edge of my tie kind of goes in the corner. It may stick out a little bit, and I'll stitch to the end, back stitch, 1, 2, 3, because that's how many stitches is 1/4 of an inch on my machine. I pivot, I back stitch, and stitch forward again. I do that back stitching both ways as I end my seam to keep the tie securely fastened in the corner, because the corner where the tie is the most stressful part of the mask, from tying it and untying it. I'll stop here, usually with my needle down, make another tie bundle, place it between the layers, have the end sticking out of the corner, match my edges again, stitch, back stitch, pivot, back stitch, go forward. This back stitching helps keep the ties attached in the corner, because that's where the stress is going to be. Again, just use my fingers to kind of match things up. Stop. Find my other 2 ties that dropped on the floor. Make another tie bundle. sure you don't catch your ties in your seam. And I sew to about 2 inches from where I started. Pivot, sew off, cut my threads. Now we're going to turn the mask inside out. Just put your fingers in, reach for some fabric, push it out. And it's real easy to just pull the ties. Helps bring them out. Don't pull too tight. All right. Smooth it a little bit. Do not iron it. It's not worth the time. And where I had my hole, see how nice that tucks in? I'm just going to put a pin there to hold it together while I do the pleating of the sides. Now we're going to pleat. You can do it either 2 ways. I find it easy to feel that seam allowance up here, put my fingers about 1 inch apart and make a pleat and fold that pleat up to just below the seam allowance. Having nice long pins is helpful because you want to stick into that thickness of pleat and make a big bite and hold it in place. I feel the bottom of that pleat, fingers about 1 inch apart, pull up, push the pleat towards the bottom of the previous one. That's 2. And then again, feel the bottom of that pleat, about 1 inch, pleat it up, fold it over. So I take my time with my pin to try and keep these edges clean. We want to pleat the other side now. Here's another way you can pleat. You can pick up the fabric and just make a pleat. And again, I'm pushing this pleat against the thickness of that seam allowance. And these are approximate. And by pleating this way, you're making your layers all about the same thickness, so your sewing machine doesn't have problems sewing over it. All right, now we have pleats on both sides. Hopefully they're all facing the same way. Yep, they're all up. And now I come back and I find out where my hole was. I'm going to top stitch twice around. Now, when you get to where you're going to stitch over the pleats, you might want to make your stitch length a little longer. I've been sewing with a 2 or 2.5 stitch length. I'm going to make that into about a 3 or a 3.5. This will help you go over that bigger thickness of fabric and hold the pleats down better. So. All right, now we're going to go over the pleats. Slow down, pull your pin out before you get to it. If you could stop with your needle down, stop with it down in a pleat. Pull your pin out, closer. Sew your next pleat. Go to the corner, pivot. All right, you can kind of roll the fabric between your fingers to help pull it out. Now we'll sew the other set of pleats. Again, slow down, that longer stitch length. You might have to help push it through. Do not sew over the pins. It's not pretty. And when we come to where we started, you just sew another line of top stitching. I just keep going just a little bit below I use a guide on my presser foot to kind of keep me the same distance. Okay, hold your pleats in order a little bit. And when I get to where I started, I just stitch a little bit further, pull it out, clip my threads, trim my threads, and you have a mask. Flannel side, cotton side.